on YouTube. And I'm going to mute everybody.
Nope, no touch.
All right. You all. And all right. Now I'm going to share my screen as we get ready to start services. Are we live streaming? Are we? We are. Okay, good. Sharing the slideshow. In theory. There we go. Come on. All right, and we will begin our service. And as we do, just a reminder for those of you who might be joining us on Zoom for the first time, all of the prayers that we're going to be doing are on our slideshow. If you're in the sanctuary, slideshow also is here. The same presentation we'll be joining together as much as we can. And even though I can't hear you on Zoom, I like to see everyone singing. And it's so wonderful to hear everyone singing in the sanctuary. I hope that our service, our time together on this Shabbat brings us a little bit of restfulness in what I know for me anyway has been a crazy week. And we'll begin. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to help work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. We'll continue singing Hine Matov, how good it is for all of us to be together. Hine Matov u'manayim sheverachim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim sheverachim gam yachad. Hine, hine, hine matov u'manayim. Oy, 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 sheverachim, sheverachim gam yachad. Sheverachim oy achim gam yachad. Continue singing together in just a second. There we go. Joining together and singing the words of Psalm 95 and 96, L'chu Neranana, giving thanks to God for all of God's creation. We'll continue welcoming Shabbat, joining together and singing the words of Lecha Dodi. We'll join together in verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and as we reach the final verse, we'll stand and face the entryway to welcome Shabbat like a bride or a queen. Ya la 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'rivor echad, ishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Tiferet veliti la 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat la 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva ore, kumi ori, uri, shir taberi, kevod Adonai elayich, nigla la 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise. Boi b'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'tola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please be seated. We'll continue welcoming Shabbat by welcoming the ministering angels of peace, the Shabbat angels of peace, to come be with us and hopefully bring with them a sense of Shabbat restfulness and peace. Shalom Alechem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei ashalom, malachei elyon, mimelech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Seichem l'shalom, malachei ashalom, malachei elyon, mimelech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Shalom alechem, malachei asharet, malachei elyon, mimelech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei ashalom, malachei elyon, mimelech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Seichem l'shalom, malachei ashalom, malachei elyon, mimelech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Mimelech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. continue with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. And if you have candles at home and you'd like to light them with me, now is the time. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'b'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala, u'bizman kariv, v'imeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'alam u'lo me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shemei dekedusha brichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma ve'imeru amen. We will rise for our call to prayer. Yalla lie lie lie, 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 yalla lie lie lie. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed, Le'olam Va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Please be seated. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei Yom Balayla, Golel Or Mipnei Choshech, Golel Mipnei Choshech, Bechoshech Mipnei Yom. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei Yom Balayla, Golel Or Mipnei Choshech, Golel Or Mipnei Choshech, Bechoshech Mipnei Yom. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We'll rise together for Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha Uvelechtecha v'derech, uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beineinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, Vihitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We continue with our prayer for freedom and redemption, Mi Chamocha.
kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nezar b'kodesh, nora tehilo tosefele, nora tehilo tosefele. Malchutecha ra'u banecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Ya Elai, Elai, la, 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 ya la, la, ya Elai, Elai, la, 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 ya Elai, la, 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 ya la, la, ya la, 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 ya la, 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 la.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, be'al kol amo Yisrael, be'al Yerushalayim.
Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Behamideinu shomreinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, V'hamideinu shomreinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, V'hamideinu shomreinu lechaim. We'll rise together for tefillah. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol,
וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. בנאמן אתה להחיות הקום, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הקום. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Please be seated. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. We'll continue with our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. We'll continue continue with a moment for our own quiet thoughts and prayers. Yehiyu leratzon imrefi behegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri v'goali yehiyu leratzon imrefi v'hegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri v'goali. We devote the next few moments of our service to hold our loved ones, our congregational family members, our friends, and our hearts who are in need of a prayer of healing. We'll join together in Misha Berach in a minute for our prayer of healing. But before we do, if there are those who you're thinking of and who'd like to share their names on Zoom, please feel free to use the chat and I'll read their names aloud in a moment. And if there's someone you're thinking of in here and you'd like to say their names, please do so now.
The family of Jonathan Crowe. Officer Michael Longberg and the Hall family.
Roz Gibel, Esther Greenwald, Warren Trichek, Ursula Hartunian, Peter Baum, Charles Guberman, Crystal Crosby, Debbie Call, Ward Becker, for all of our loved ones who are in need of a prayer of healing, we say, Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. Blessed is God who brings healing to those who are in need of healing. We'll join together in singing Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who
who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We had the, I think, most enjoyable experience this past Sunday of celebrating Simchat Torah. And in the front yard of the temple, we unrolled the whole Torah, as we have done for the last few years, and seen everything that we've read, everything that we've talked about for the past year. And now this week is the first new Shabbat of the year where we get to start the whole cycle over again from the very beginning. And one of my favorite things that I like to do to teach people, to show people, especially, I would say especially who are not Jewish and who did not grow up around kind of the Jewish interpretive method of studying Torah, is to pull out one of my books called a Mikraot Gedolot. The words Mikraot Gedolot means, literally, it means big book. And it was called a big book because when they originally were designed to exist in this way, in the Middle Ages, they consisted of a verse of Torah, and then this one verse of Torah usually was surrounded by all of these commentators, usually between 4 and 8 commentators, Torah commentators, who would, and you would see all of these commentaries parallel to the text that they're commenting on. And so in order to fit that many commentaries on one page, you have what you need. You need a big book. So I like to show them the commentary specifically on the very first sentence of the Hebrew Bible, which we often hear translated as "in the beginning." The rabbis are fundamentally in agreement that what the Torah says in the beginning is not in the beginning. And they spend about 8 pages of a Mikraot Gedolot. So of the big pages of this book that have all of these different commentaries, there are about 8 pages in my version of the Mikraot Gedolot just on that first sentence. So when I think about starting over again, and I think about Bereshit, every year I have a lot of we as Jews have a lot of opportunities to kind of reflect on different aspects of what creation means for our lives, what the story in the Torah says, and then all of the things that we have in between that I think are important. And sometimes things that we take for granted as a part of our service are associated with the Torah in ways that we don't regularly think about. Joining together with the idea of starting over again, and specifically with the story of creation and with the cycle of Torah reading, there is a phrase that I think we often take for granted. We sing it typically as a part of actually taking the Torah out of the ark. We sing Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olam Omed. The whole world stands on 3 things: Al HaTorah, Ve'al Ha'avodah, Ve'al Gemilut Chasadim. And I want to tell you that actually that phrase comes from a part of the Mishnah called Pirkei Avot, which we often translate as Ethics of the Fathers, and it comes in this particular context. So the rabbis in this first section of the Mishnah called Ethics of the Fathers are laying out principles that they think are important to keep and sustain the world. And so this particular person, Shimon the Righteous, who was one of the last members of the Great Assembly, which was a time in Jewish history before the title rabbi was given to people, Shimon the Righteous, this was his motto. It came from him, and he was the one that said, the world stands on three things: Torah, temple service, or worshiping of God, and Gemilut Chasadim. And I didn't translate those two words on purpose because they're actually what I want to mention, and I think it relates to this week's Torah portion in addition to the idea of starting over again. So, Gemilut Chasadim we often think about as being a phrase that means acts of loving kindness. Even in this version of the translation, which was published by the Union for American Hebrew Congregations, which is now the URJ. This is from the URJ Press. They translate Gemilut Chasadim as acts of loving kindness. And I am not trying to ruin anyone's perception of this phrase, but it doesn't really mean acts of loving kindness. The word chesed, I think, is pretty much without question a word that means kindness, but gemilut, that word, has a number of different meanings that kind of tell us something about what we're supposed to do as people that we have interpreted for generations as being actions of kindness. The word, or the root in Hebrew, gimel mem lamed, as a noun by itself, gamal actually means camel. The word gamal means camel, and it comes from the root, which means to be mature or to develop completely. So those are the two, I guess, primary meanings of this word, gamal. And so when you dig deeper and you look at different variations of the way this root is used in context, you see this word gamal being used in the context of fruit ripening, or something that's being allowed to reach maturity, something that's allowed to be fully nourished in a way that it's thriving thriving to a point where it is at its peak, at its best. So, in the context of this week's Torah portion, we have a different phrase. And this phrase in particular comes within the context of the story of Adam and Eve, in particular that moment in creation where Eve and Adam are separated. And the Torah tells us that Eve is being put on earth to be ezer kenegdo. So the word ezer means to be a helper, and kenegdo means to stand opposite of. When you put these two phrases side by side together, what we see when we read this story about what it means to have a partnership is actually, I think, defined by the phrase Gemilut Chasadim. So, in addition to all these other things that I said, Gemilut Chasadim means the phrase Gemilut actually implies reciprocity. It's not an act of kindness that we do for its own sake. The rabbis actually have a number of different ideas that Gemilut Chasadim is the enactment of a covenantal relationship between partners. That when you do something kind for others, it's not necessarily that you expect a payment in return for what the action is, but that there is some societal good that you will ultimately benefit from because you are kind. And the entire existence of human relationships is supposed to be founded, the whole world in its creation was founded on this idea that human beings can be partners, that we can be ezer kenegdo with each other, not just in the context of a marriage or in that kind of intimate relationship, but that human beings and people who are living in community need to be and stand opposite from each other in such a way that we are in a productive relationship where we're doing these acts of loving kindness, of gemilut chasadim, in order to create a society that is fully nourished and allowed to thrive in the best way that we know how to make it. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to continue with Aleinu, and I will invite everyone to please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vigoralenu kechol hamonam, Vanachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Please be seated. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad ushemo echad. We devote the next few moments of our service to honor those who we have loved and lost, holding in our hearts those for whom this Shabbat and this week are a yahrzeit or an anniversary of their death. We remember Harry Wolf Allen, Sylvia Feldman, George Leibowitz, Anna S. Blanken, Milton Switzer, Margaret Thompson, Jane S. Long, Jacob Sandler, June Rankin, Larry Shatton, Win To, Lucille Chernak, Selma L. Kennan, and Bert Weinberg. And if there are loved ones who you are honoring this evening by saying Kaddish and you'd like to mention their names on Zoom, please put their name in the chat and I'll read it in a moment. And if you are thinking of someone in the sanctuary and you'd like to share their name, please. David Hecht, Samuel David Guberman. For all of our loved ones who are no longer with us, we say, Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be forever a blessing. We'll join together as we rise for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chai echon u'vyom echon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivarach le'olam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei dekedusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates peace in the heavens on high bring peace to us here on earth, to all Israel and all people of the world, and send comfort to all those who are mourning. Together we say, Amen. Please be seated. I have a couple of announcements. The first is that Temple of Israel Zoom Book Club is back, and we are planning to join together on November 2nd at 7:30 as we discuss the book The Lost Letter by Gillian Cantor. The Lost Letter is a heartbreaking, heartwarming historical novel of love and survival inspired by real resistance workers during World War II Austria, and the mysterious love letter that connects generation of Jewish families. Our core group of people who participated in book club last year, I think had a lot of fun, and I hope that new people will join us this year. It's a good time. Even if you haven't read the book, you should feel free to join us, and it's a fun gathering. We are going to do, Pat is letting me know, a movie night on November 13th. We don't know the movie title yet, but it's gonna happen. If you have any suggestions for good movies that you think would be good for a temple event, let us know, and we are gonna meet soon to discuss which movie we're gonna watch. Yes. Yeah, so at noon, so for those of you on Zoom, at noon tomorrow, downtown Greenville, is it at Falls Park? At the One Center.
I was just trying to find what do we call it. We used to call it a plaza, but now we call it
Yeah, I think it's just called the One Center. The One Center at noon. There is a rally for reproductive rights, and Melinda Menzer is going to be speaking. And it is a nonpartisan event. And if you would like to join us, please feel free. On the theme of justice, the other announcement that I have is Greenville County. There are a group of, I believe, 16 interfaith congregations who have joined together to create an organization that is temporarily being called the Greenville County Interfaith Justice Network. We've created the initial organization, but this will be the first opportunity for members of our congregations to get together to participate in a text study. The text study is, was this what God intended for the world? What went wrong, and how can we make it right? You can see the link here for registration. It will be in the e-news starting this coming Wednesday. You can also see it's going to take place on Thursday, October 21st. It will be both in person and on Zoom. I believe when you register, you'll get the information for Zoom if you want to attend virtually. 6 o'clock at First Baptist in person, and again on Zoom. Again, this kind of work is nonpartisan work. It is now almost officially a 501c3 organization. And our goal is twofold. One, to bring people together and two, to effect change that will bring just solutions to problems for people in Greenville. So, and one of the pieces of this will be to reach out to our neighbors, to listen to stories, and to hear how or what we can do to make sure that Greenville is a just place for all of its residents. So I'm hoping that we can get a good number of people to attend either in person or virtually. And I think that this would be a really good opportunity for our congregation to participate in justice work that goes beyond the already good work that we do by having regular food drives. The kind of work that this organization is intending to do are to kind of solve some of the more systemic issues that exist in our county. And so it is really important work. Someone suggested Fiddler on the Roof. That is a total possibility. We will discuss later. All right, we are going to say Kiddush and Motzi and bless our children and then conclude our service. So if you have something to say Kiddush at home on Zoom, we'll join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen l'chaim. And we'll say together the blessing for our children, whether we are sitting with them in our homes, or if you're looking at them on a screen, or whatever the case may be. As we're holding our children in our hearts, we join together. Yesimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chi Menashe. May you be blessed like the sons of Joseph, Ephraim, and Menashe. Yesimech Elohim kesara Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah. May you be blessed like the mothers of our people, like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. We wish for all of our children to be blessed with the gift of being proud of who they are and of always striving to be the best version of themselves. With these words of blessing from the Torah, Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine on you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence always feel close to you, and may you always be blessed with the gifts of wholeness and peace. Amen. And challah. We'll join together. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. I'll get a bite of that in a minute. And we are going to conclude our service singing Oseh Shalom, our prayer for peace. Yai la 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 la, yai la yai la la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la yai la la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Oh, say shalom b'roma. Say shalom aleichem. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm going to